The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that Zoom studio this morning, we have former Congressman Tom Reed. Tom, I'd say it's great to see you. I just wish it wasn't under these circumstances.
I would agree, Frank. I'm always appreciative to be on your show, but also spend time with you and with the folks of the audience.
Mm-hmm. Tom, before you came on, I read your recent post, and I think, well, let's start with this. Why did you, and I think we know the answer, why did you feel the need to kind of, in a way, pour out your heart in this way?
Every time you have a tragic situation like this, and it truly is one of the dark days in America's history, when an individual is using his rights of free speech to think that somehow an individual would assassinate that individual, and especially see those videos that now are on the internet for all of time. It just reminds me how we have to stop this hatred, that this extremism that motivates this. It just you have to stand up to it. And so I use the forums that I still have available to me to weigh in and express how I truly and genuinely feel. We need leadership. We need people to stand up for those that are, even today, I saw some commentary in social media that was just despicable.
Yes.
And you don't have to do that. And you shouldn't do that. And shame on them for doing that.
I couldn't agree more. And I said this on yesterday's program, I had to put down the social media. I'm not a big social media guy anyway, but to see this, just the only term I could use is evil that people are pushing for something like you said is basically a fundamental right in this country, which is the free expression of ideas.
And to not recognize all the people that have gone before us, that have shed their blood for that freedom of free speech, that we are a beacon of hope. For so many people around the world that I've had the honor to travel with, to see firsthand, that are oppressed and that are looking for the opportunity to have that freedom, and to see it just spat upon in such a horrific way yesterday. But on top of it, to see people after that event to somehow celebrate it, justify it, it's despicable. And I just look at them and I just shake my head in disbelief. But at the end of the day, too, you have to inspire people with hope and optimism, and say, I don't stand for hatred or fear, and I applaud Charlie Kirk and him for standing up, going into we did a lot of town hall.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that.
Those with me, and he's doing what he believes in. He's doing what he felt needed to be done. And he was doing it in a way, I watched some of those speeches, and you may not agree with what he's saying, but he did it in a very articulate, based on fact, and he was respectful in those exchanges. I really didn't see any clips where he lost his cool and attacked people. And I tried to do the same thing in regards to my town halls, respect people, try to listen to them, and then maybe in that dialogue, you're able to have a conversation where you could actually hear each other, just as opposed to just yelling at each other. And then for him to take a bullet, the way that he did, I just pray for his family and for all the kids that were there on a college campus that are going to be scarred for the rest of their life. And now that scene is up on the internet, people, that's not going to go away.
No.
And I'll tell you, the people around the world are looking to America to be hope, to be free. And I just get emotional about it, Frank, because I love this country with all my heart.
Right.
And to see that event yesterday, freedom is so precious.
It is.
Reminds me of Ronald Reagan. Democracy and freedom is only a generation away from being lost. And it's time for us to lead. It's time for us to step forward as a nation and say enough is enough. This is not acceptable.
No, the rhetoric, the constant rhetoric. I mean, even look at some of the coverage when the news was breaking, where some in the media have since been fired over it. But to blame the victim blame, right? I thought this was interesting. Charlie started Turning Point USA right around 2012. And I would say, being on the radio at the time, I remember it was around that time, and you'll remember, Tom, when people, specifically on college campuses, started to say that words are akin to violence. So if I say something that you don't like, it's no longer sticks and stones. You have a right to violently attack me because I hurt your feelings. And this is kind of the culmination of that warped mindset.
Totally agree with that, Frank. Yeah. Totally agree with that. And how we got here, we can have show upon show upon show about that. My life right now is dedicated to living today and to be hopeful for tomorrow. And so if I can be part of the voice, and that's what our Committee of the American Majority, that's my 501c4 and we have a C3, Institute of Caring, that I do part-time in regards to public service, trying to give back, participate. I was up in the Capitol yesterday with some of my old colleagues in the leadership offices. And I'll tell you, Tim Scott, he led us in a prayer, small group of us, and he is a true friend, but he's also a true American who's got a great story. And his prayer, I was basically in tears because he expressed it so well. He just said, let's pray for our country. And to see people like Katie Tur, I've been on her show.
I know. Yeah.
That's MSNBC. That's the one I believe you're referring to.
Yeah, there's two different ones. Yeah.
Or at least
she hasn't been fired. There was somebody else, I think Ed Martin, that was fired. But yeah.
Okay. I mean, and I heard her comments, and I'm like, I've been on her show. I've interacted with her. She knows better. Yeah. Media has a responsibility too, not to I get you got to sell time. I get you got to sell TV, ads and things like that. You want your ratings up and all that. But come on. In these moments, media needs to show class. It has to show just basic respect and professionalism.
I know.
My God, someone was killed. Don't seize that moment.
And a young father with two children, Tom.
Beautiful
one is
children.
1 year old, I believe, and the other 3 years old. To your point, when they searched their father's name, I thought Melania Trump just gave me goosebumps what she said about now they're not going to be able to make memories. They have to hear stories kind of idea. That when they search his name, God forbid, but that video is going to be everywhere.
They're going to see it.
Yeah.
And it's ingrained now in our collective psyche. And I'm not naive enough to say that we haven't been here before as a nation. Think about JFK.
You're right.
I mean, John Lewis, God rest his soul, he was a personal friend of mine. He told me stories about Martin Luther King. It was his friend.
Right.
I stood on Edmund Pettus Bridge with him. These things do occur in our country's history, but we're living now. We're part of the generation that can stand up to it. And the next generation needs to be taught that this is unacceptable. And it reminds me of my town halls, where I had that 4-year-old spit on, encouraged by her father. I don't know if you were at that town hall.
I remember
over
vividly.
In Jamestown. Yeah, over in Jamestown. And a 4-year-old on her father's shoulder being encouraged to spit on me by her dad because he disagreed with where I was expressing my position on an issue. That can't happen in America. And it's incumbent upon all of us. And I know right now.
We might have lost you a little bit there, Tom. Hold on, I'm going to see if you come back. Let's give it just a second. I think we got a little bit of a skip, a little bit of lag here. We'll see. Why don't we take a short break and we'll come back and we'll log back in with Tom Reed. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking. We are back with Frankly Speaking. We have Tom Reed back with us. Tom, before we had a little bit of a glitch, because that's the fun of Zoom, isn't it? We were talking about town halls. And I'm sure a lot of people wonder in today's climate with the tragedy with Charlie Kirk, but also before that, when you saw these town halls, much akin to what you experienced, where people just shouting and screaming and not wanting to have the conversation. If you were still in office, what would your opinion of doing a town hall be today?
It's interesting. My wife and I just talked about that because, she was always worried when
sure.
I went out there, especially we had some very heated town halls in Ithaca, for example, and some other areas, but many, anyway, that 4-year-old spitting on the fist fight that broke out over in the northern end of Chautauqua County that we broke up. I had to tell her honestly, no, you still have to engage. And we should be inspired by what Charlie Kirk was doing. He was going into the den in order to engage in the debate. And with that right of freedom of speech comes a responsibility to use it again to inspire and give people hope,
Mm-hmm.
and to stand up to hate and ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, I would do them without hesitation. I would do them. I would just trust the professionals that are there to protect us. But you can be walking down the street, and if it's your time, it's your time. But in the meantime, be smart. We would definitely make sure that we're doing the best we can to protect myself and the people that are there at those events, who are also enjoying their freedom of speech and dialogue. But so don't be naive, don't be stupid,
Right.
but you still have to do it, in my humble opinion.
And you look at it with Charlie Kirk and, of course, the two attempts on President Trump's life. And are we, and I hope I don't, I want to hear the right answer to this. Are we to the point where we're going to become numb to this, where it's not the breaking story?
No.
Okay.
I can't imagine, because there's too much goodness in America. I see the extremism, I see the fringes on the political movements that are there, but I still, the silent majority, the vast majority of Americans are good people. They're not going to put up with this, and if they ever become numb to it, we are past the point of no return. And it just, I don't see we're going to get there. I mean, we had a civil war.
Right.
I'm a big history buff, as
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Things can get worse.
Mm-hmm.
They can get worse. But at the end of the day, decency and good people are who reside in America, and they will. I don't think we'll ever become numb to this.
Right, and I think sometimes, as is human nature, we focus on the horrible things that we've seen on social media, or maybe some talking head pundit said. But overall, I would say the people that you talk to, no matter what part of the political spectrum, have sent at least their thoughts to the family, have talked about how they're heartbroken over what can only be deemed a tragedy. So I know it's human nature to focus on the negative, but there is a lot of positive comments coming from both sides, wishing his family the best.
There really are. Then it reminds me, I mean, today's 9/11. I
Yeah.
mean, I know we're taping this.
Yeah, but
and Charlie Kirk was yesterday. But 9/11 also is something we cannot become numb to that. We are under attack, both now domestically, but from enemies from afar, and it's going on, and it's a sad state of our affairs. But at the end of the day, I think there's better angels in America. I stand with those better angels. I try to do my work today to help those better angels be in a position of influence and to be leaders of today and tomorrow. And that's what I'm continuing to do with my non-for-profit work.
And I want to hear more about that non-for-profit work. But before that, how do you think, when we watch this and we're all still heartbroken, we're still grieving, how do you think as a nation we heal to the point where a town hall doesn't resort to screaming matches?
I think what you do is you look to the heroes, you look to the leaders, and as individuals, we pass it on in our household to our children, to our brothers, to our sisters, to our friends, and just if there's an opportunity. I had a college roommate who was attacked in his little text chain where people were getting over the line, and he stood up to it. And I said, Brad, I applaud you. That's what it's going to take. So I think it's all of us collectively, but also as a nation and as leaders.
And do you see, and then you don't have to name names, but do you see those leaders emerging as we move forward? Do you think there's more leaders perhaps, or is it, are we still searching for some?
I think we're still searching for some, but at the same time, like I said, I was with Tim Scott yesterday. He is a true leader. He has lived a life story because he's a personal friend. That's inspiring. And so I see those every day when I'm in DC, but I also see them when I'm traveling the country. I see people stepping up in their local communities. I see the Little League coaches. I see the teachers.
Exactly.
I see the police officers. I know a lot of the people over in Steuben County. They're right there.
Oh, yeah.
You have the sheriff on, Jim Allard.
All the time.
He's a good man.
Yes.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of good people stepping forward for elected office. And hopefully maybe out of this tragedy that inspires someone to run for local office, like yourself. You stepped up to serve your local community. Just good-hearted people recognize it's a responsibility. It's a blessing to have freedom, but it's a responsibility to lead.
And I said from day one on the television version of Frankly Speaking that the goal of this was to bring back the community aspect, because I know you've seen the polls where it was people were losing faith in their community, faith in faith, all these things that really are what you think of when you think of America. And, we can only do our own little part to say, okay, you know what? These people are running for town council or city council. Let's have them on the show so you can learn about who they are. Because it's not going to be fixed in a day. It's got to be little by little, piece by piece to get us back to normal.
And that's the responsibility of us as citizens of a great democracy in America. Mm-hmm. We each have to step up in our own way. And I know it's hard. Oh, yeah. I know people carry a lot of burden, but you can do it in such little ways.
You really can.
Going and standing with your local community at a charitable event, or just doing the right thing, walking down the street, saying hello to somebody
smiling
that you don't know, and smiling.
Yeah, I know.
And just saying, hey, you look like you need a pat on the back today, or just a handshake, or just, hey, how you doing?
Exactly.
When we lose our temper at the grocery store, maybe reflect on it and go, maybe I shouldn't do that. Yeah. And it's
and we've
hard.
all done it.
We've all been there.
I know.
We've all done it. But at the end of the day, maybe this inspires the better angels amongst us to step forward.
And what's encouraging in a way, and as you said, we are filming this on September 11th. I went to, and I know you went to it numerous times, the First Responders Memorial in Irwin and Gang Mills. Mm-hmm. And it's so encouraging to have, when you go to park, that you're parking in a dirt field because it's so crowded, because there's so many people that want to attend on a Thursday at 11. That's the kind of community that I'm talking about. That's what we want to see. We need more of that.
Totally more of that. And I flew back from D.C. today, and so I was at DCA this morning, and they came over to speakers and asked for a moment of silence. I took a knee.
Yeah.
I took a knee because I remember that day. Mm-hmm. And, some people looked at me that continued on their day, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to show my respect for that horrific day. Mm-hmm. And then our plane was delayed on the tarmac because they had the event at the Pentagon. Yeah. And it just gave me a chance to reflect, as I sat in that plane and remember that day. It was a beautiful fall day. And I remember being on Market Street at my office when those towers came down and getting that news and watching that TV all day. Yeah. Sharon, I sent Sharon home, Sharon, my
of course.
Administrative assistant,
sent
her home and just say, go be with family today. I went to St. Patrick's when it existed, went to the church, said a prayer, and just hugged my family very tight that day.
That's all we had. It's amazing to look back. It's hard to believe it's been 24 years, isn't it? And I think we've got to remember, like this thing always goes, we can't act like it's September 10th. We've got to remember it's September 12th, meaning that I know we can never forget, but that feeling, that unity as a United States of America, that we still need that in our hearts.
We do. Yeah. We do. And just take a moment. I mean, that's part of being a citizen.
Yeah.
Just take a moment. I know it's busy. I know we're caught up in the day-to-day life and all the pressures and the good and the bad that come with it. But just take a moment. And, especially after a horrific action of the 10th, memorial on the 11th,
I know.
It probably should give us pause, all of us. Mm-hmm. We live in a very special place.
We do.
And it takes all of us to make sure it stays that special and safe place that it is.
Now, Tom, you had mentioned, before we go, you're working behind the scenes with a not-for-profit. Tell us exactly what your goals are and what you are doing there.
Yeah, so the Committee of the American Majority, that's a non-for-profit we set up to bring Democrats, Republicans together, kind of the Problem Solvers Caucus informally, if you would,
okay.
Where we convene people to build those friendships and trust amongst people. And these are existing leaders in D.C., but also we identify future leaders and give them an opportunity to see how it can work, where you actually dialogue on an issue and respect each other, because there's no cameras, it's all off the record.
Right.
And it's just an informal type of breaking bread together. And then the C3 is the Institute of Caring, and it's called the Institute of Caring because it's about new ways of governing. We're a think tank, if you would, where policy ideas are shared. We have the Caring Institute, which is the Caring model, which is a 30-year vetted, created expert way of replacing existing government services with a new system, if you want to read it. It's a book that we have. The Institute of Caring has it on its website. But it's also, we're open up to new ideas, because we get it. What worked 20 years ago, 50 years ago, may not work tomorrow in America. That's the beauty of America and the Constitution of it being a ever-living document. It allows us to change. And maybe there needs to be some change on a policy when we do business in Washington, D.C. and at the local government. So we're offering ideas. That's the point. And we're willing to put it in black and white, because you know what? Politics has to be set aside. In order for these new ideas to take root, it needs leaders, but it also needs new ideas that are vetted and able to withstand the scrutiny of public debate.
And isn't it interesting when you get together, and I think if people did this more, when you get together and if you didn't talk politics, if you didn't know who someone voted for, and you just realize that we're all humans, aren't those great conversations? It's sometimes until the politics gets involved, but I think people are shocked to learn that, oh wow, that person voted for Trump or that person didn't vote for Trump. We sometimes are run by maybe stereotypes or cliches.
Totally agree. And maybe what we could do is, when you have that conversation, you voted for Trump or you voted for Biden.
Yeah.
Well, tell me why.
Yeah.
Why? Why did you feel that?
Yeah.
And my whole point on that is to be able to have a dialogue is something over the kitchen table.
I know.
I hear it too often. People are like, I can't even talk about politics in my own home.
I know.
That's a sign of a problem.
Right.
You've got to be able to talk about it.
And that's the problem when we talk about the root core, sometimes the media. I remember the first time Trump was elected, that's when the articles started coming out, what to say to your crazy uncle at Thanksgiving, or then it became, don't go to Thanksgiving. And you're going, this isn't healthy as a nation. You have to, if you can't talk to your family, who can you talk to?
And I'll tell you, our adversaries that I referenced, who are coming after America, that do not want America to be the world leader, they have a vision of a world where they control the levers, and I'm talking about adversaries in China, folks that don't agree, Russia, North Korea. You saw the assembly, the military parade last week.
And I thought of you because we talked about it so many times.
So often.
Yeah.
And those are adversaries that don't believe the way we believe. So if you think this is just a domestic problem where we're Republicans and Democrats fighting with each other, we're playing right into the hand of that geopolitical shift that is coming. It's a moment of choosing, as I call it, as I put out in my statement. And I choose to stand with the Churchill body, with the people. And Chamberlain was the leader of World War II. On the other side, he stood with his aristocratic friends and tried to play nice and say he was standing with the people. And if it worked out, that's great. But he was doing deals with the devil. And that devil, we all know, was in Hitler in Nazi Germany. And to me, that same moment of choosing is coming. I have firmly put down a marker. I'm on the side of Churchill.
Well, thank you. I do too. I'll do that too, Tom. That's an easy one, right? Well, Tom, thanks for giving us so much time this morning. Let's do this again real soon, because I do want, maybe sometime we'll block off a good section of the program, because I want to talk more about China, Russia, and Iran like we did the last time, because this isn't a story that's going away.
Not going away, and it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And in the meantime, just hug your family a little tighter, hug your loved ones, and reach out to a stranger and say, you know what, I'm proud to be an American. Let's at least shake hands and respect each other.
I agree. Tom, we'll see you soon. You're looking great.
Thanks, my friend. You too.
All right.
Look forward to seeing you in person.
Soon. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay